Congress, APC, where the national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, has been issued a one-week ultimatum by an aggrieved member of the party's National Working Committee, NWC, to come clean and render accounts on how he spent 30 billion naira funds belonging to the party. The national vice chairman of the Northwest, Dr. Lukeman, in an open letter to party leaders, alleges that the monies which were processed from sales of nomination forms to aspirants in the just concluded 2023 general elections had been badly mismanaged, with Adamu yet to fully render account to fellow members of the party's leadership or members of the party. Now, Lukeman goes on to say that it has become embarrassing to the APC, its leaders and members, that after 1 year of being in office, Senator Abdullahi Adamu was yet to convene a regular National Executive Committee or NEC meeting, National Caucus meeting, or National Advisory Council meetings. And of course, he's now issuing a one-week ultimatum for all of this to happen and for a meeting to be convened to ensure that the outgoing and incoming governments enjoyed a smooth transition, or else he would have to go to court. Well, to help us understand some of these issues, we're now being joined in the studio by a lawyer and APC strategist, Rotimi Arobo. Gani, Arise News made efforts to have the man who raised the issues, that's the national vice chairman of the APC, Northwest Lukeman, but he said his letter was sufficient enough, and as such would have you, Gani, to help us understand some of these issues. I mean, you've been in the APC and you understand what exactly is going on. Talk to us about why a ranking politician and an experienced lawmaker, party man like Senator Abdullahi Adamu, having been brought into the APC to resolve some of the crises in the party, is yet to give account of the party's funds from the sales of forms for the 2023 general elections, and he hasn't convened some of the organs of the party's meetings, except one which he did in last year, April, and of course which made the NEC transferring its powers to Adamu for 90 days. Now, those 90 days have expired.
Exactly.
Why hasn't he called other meetings?
Thank you very much for having me. It's always nice to be here with you at Arise. First of all, I think we need to separate the issues. And what are the issues? The operations of the party is regulated by the party's constitution. Now, the interpretation of those provisions, people can assume however they see it and say, okay, maybe this is what ought to happen. But what is important is that it will be very unfair for anybody to suggest that this NWC, headed by Adamu Abdullahi, should convene a meeting or render account while still in the middle of the political process. On the 15th of April, barely a week ago, there were supplementary elections where APC was still contesting at subnational levels. The NWC came into office sometime around March, around 27th of March, they were inaugurated. Immediately they were inaugurated, they had to start conducting primaries, right? They had to conduct congresses that produced delegates for the purpose of conducting primaries in May. Throughout May, they had primaries for all the offices, House of Assembly, governorship, and National Assembly.
Assembly and the presidential, of course.
The presidential came up in June. By July, we were in campaign mood, right? Don't forget, like you rightly and correctly stated, NEC's powers were transferred to the NWC for 90 days. That 90-day period expired right in the middle of campaigns. And we know how rigorous this campaign was. NWC members flew with the presidential candidate of the party across this country. Many of them were members of the PCC. Many of them were members of committees at the sub-national levels. So you can't do all of this and at the same time call a NEC meeting, call a meeting of the advisory council, and call a meeting of the national caucus. Our members
but statutorily, the constitution, the APC constitution says every quarter there ought to be a NEC meeting.
Absolutely. And the NEC itself have been briefed as to why a NEC meeting cannot be called, because many members of those NEC are either going for re-election or contesting for a different political office. So they understand very well why those meetings cannot hold. And that's why it will appear that Lukeman is a lone voice. Yeah, over 20.
You think so?
Yeah,
because there are lots of people who are saying that this may also be an inroad into the removal of Abdullah Adamu as APC national chairman.
Now, if you say a lot of people are saying he signed his letter alone.
Yes.
So that makes him a lone wolf.
Yes, for now. But some of the things he has said is reverberating. Some of those things are actually reverberating within the APC.
I share that fear. It's a premonition that people have, and there's basis for that premonition. It goes back to what I consider as one of the ugly legacies of President Muhammadu Buhari, which was the dissolution of the National Working Committee under Adamu Soshomole. So people now have that impression that if you generate enough ruckus within the party, at some point the NWC can be asked to go.
But despite being elected members of the NWC.
Exactly. And despite being elected for a term of 4 years, democratically.
Which is statutory.
Statutory also, by the same constitution. You know, but that is a bad precedent that I believe that everybody wants to walk away from, including the president-elect as we know him. But I don't think that that is precisely Saliu Lukeman's intention. And this is not me speaking for him. I have not had conversations with him as to what his intentions were as he relates to that
it's an open letter.
Yes.
All the contents
but I don't
are
think that his
everybody.
desire is that the NWC should be dissolved at some point. No. The platform he operates on is a progressive platform. And one of the features of progressivism is divergence of opinions. It's not a military barrack. If everybody agrees, then that's no longer a progressive platform. So I believe that his dissent and disagreement with the national chairman is welcomed in very many quarters.
Is he only with the national chairman? Because he also said that the national secretary of the party and the national chairman just seem to have been colluding and are unable to render account even to members of the NWC.
No.
And sorry to just end here. The most important thing to him is that some approvals are being made and the members of the National Working Committee who were elected, just like Adamu and Omishore, don't know what is happening. Directors were asked to go on, the directors of the APC Secretariat were asked to go on suspension, only for them to hear that Adamu has, you know, recruited fresh people. And he is saying in his letter that there was no time that the NWC sat and said that they should be relieved of their jobs.
So now this is it. Like I said, Saliu Lukeman's opinion as expressed in his letter is a welcome development as part of the conversation that happens in the progressive family. But if you decide to dive into the weeds, right, the details of that letter, like I said, he signed his letter alone. If any other NWC member was of the same view with him, I would believe that he would co-sign that letter with him to express the same dissent and disagreement. The second point to note is that the same Saliu Lukeman played a role in the removal of Adamu Soshomole and the dissolution of Adamu Soshomole's NWC.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been known as the chief letter writer of the APC.
So that is the reason why all of us have to be careful when we take the content of his outburst and we don't amplify it in a manner as to say it reflects the popular view within the party. I'm very close to people in the party, both top and mid-level and even low-level personnel of the party. And speaking to them, what I get from them is that Adamu Abdullahi has carried his NWC members along on every material decision as it relates to administering the party in this period. Now, don't forget that this is a period where politics is very active for the party. The party is involved on so many fronts. Even after elections are over now, the party is seriously working with lawyers on the litigation front also to defend their mandates.
People have been asking, where is Abdullah Adamu himself? It looks like he has gone AWOL, just like the president-elect. We haven't seen him. We haven't seen the president-elect. And what we are seeing is Abubakar Kyari, the the deputy national chairman, who has been acting on his behalf. Let me just ask you before you continue on that point. Where is Senator Abdullah Adamu, the APC chairman?
Abdullah Adamu is not a wall. Abdullah Adamu is exactly where Abdullah Adamu should be. Abdullah Adamu comes
in Nigeria.
Yes, he comes to the secretariat. Well, I don't know whether he's in Nigeria at the moment. I don't work with him as one of his details or not. But I can tell you that he comes to the secretariat when he has to come to the secretariat. His national legal advisor is his foreman as it relates to all the litigation issues, you know, arising from the elections, and he's on top of it. He attends meetings. I'm privileged to be also a part of the presidential legal team, so I know that the national legal advisor is very active in on that front. As for the president-elect, I can assure you The president-elect is fine, hale and hearty. I was privy to a conversation he had with the coordinator of his legal team, Babatunde Ogala SAN, only 2 days ago, following up as to what is happening and all that. The president-elect will be available when he is around.
Well, Nigerians are asking after him.
Yes.
If you see him, tell him that, because they're asking where is the man
he's available.
who's meant to be the president of the country.
Yes, no, he's not president. Exactly. When it is May 29, the man will show up at his duty post.
Is he not supposed to be at the defense house where he will be receiving visitors, where the president-elect is meant to be? President Buhari, yes, I think on the 24th of April 2015, moved into the defense house, which is the guest house, to serve the president-elect while Aso Rock is being renovated for him. And so that's why a lot of Nigerians are worried, because that place is empty.
Did President Jonathan move into the defense house?
He was the acting president then. He was the acting president then when Yar'Adua died.
Yeah, so my point is that President Muhammad Buhari approached it the way President Muhammad Buhari will approach it. President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will approach it the way he will approach it. But it's his job, it's his work suffering. What is his role in this period? His role is to direct traffic towards his inauguration. He needs his teams to be in place. He needs his team to coordinate with the government teams to ensure that everything goes smoothly. Are those things in place?
I mean, during the week, we saw him, releasing that inauguration committee and all of that.
More importantly,
aren't foreigners and other visitors supposed to be, getting close to him? They are the defense house to see what is happening. What if he doesn't want them to get close? What if he doesn't want to make commitments before he gets into office? Is he afraid that people will be lobbying for jobs?
That's a leadership style. What if he's avoiding that pressure so that he doesn't promise A and B, becomes irritated before he even assumes office?
So are you saying that wherever he is, we hear he's in Paris, are you saying that people are not reaching out to him?
What I'm saying to you is that he is taking the steps that he believes is best for him to take in the circumstance.
Okay.
Whereas the work of state that needs to be done is not suffering. In that, as we speak now, you just confirmed, teams are rolling out to get the job done. And like I've always said, Asiwaju is not a one-man brigade. Asiwaju works within teams.
Yeah, he's very good with delegating powers.
And not just delegating and abandoning, he delegates and then he micromanages and ensures that there are outcomes, specific outcomes, that ties with the overriding goal of moving the country forward. So Asiwaju's approach to this period is precisely how he wants to approach it.
Okay. Some say he's trying to avoid a government-to-government sort of fight with the incumbents, because if you're around, it looks like the traffic may leave the villa and go to the defense house. So he's trying to ensure that Buhari still enjoys some sort of political traffic to Aso Villa rather than the defense house.
Even if we go with that logic, would that be something bad to do? In difference to President Muhammad Buhari?
I know that when Jonathan lost power in 2015, you needed to see how everybody just abandoned him in the State House. And it's always been like that. For every outgoing president, the traffic moves from the incumbent who's outgoing.
And for every political office, even the director of an agency of government, the day he leaves that office, that is the day his phone will stop ringing. He has 3 phones.
Well, my colleague Ruben Abati has said a lot about that.
So
okay, so now let's go back.
You live with a person that can testify to that better than I can.
Let's go back to the issues. Yes. Why would Abdullah Adamu not convene some major organs of the party's meeting? Now, you've given the excuse for NEC. How about the National Advisory Council, which is the APC's Board of Trustees?
So
why hasn't that been convened?
Let me speak to that. The first thing that you need to note is that there are about 18 organs of the party built across 7 structures nationally: national, zonal, senatorial, states, local government, and then local government and area council, then ward and polling units. Now, each of these organs, have been fully activated, from what I understand, by this NWC. Now, that has never been the case. In the time of Adams Oshomole as national chairman, we had a problem with several organs not even being constituted at all. But I'm aware that the advisory council of the APC has been constituted, the national caucus, and several other organs are fully constituted.
Well, as of now, we don't know who is the chairman of the National Advisory
Council.
Council.
All of that will happen at the point where they have their inaugural meeting. The only reason those inaugural meetings have not happened, like I explained to you, is because logically, you cannot do that in the middle, because you don't even know who would aspire to what position. If we had the advisory council inaugurated before the general election, and the person goes on to win his election for governorship, for instance, then how do you fill that void?
Well, from Saliu's letter, he's actually calling for all of these organs to be in place because, for example, the battle for the Senate presidency and House presidency needs the weight of the party to be able to, for the national chairman, the BOT, elders through the National Advisory Council, to say, look, this is what we want. This is how the party offices, this is how the
party will approach the National Assembly position.
The National Assembly.
So that we don't have
this is how we share power, actually. This is how we share power so that we don't have such things happening. And his fear is that it looks like that may not happen, and some members of your party may usurp that opportunity and then bring maybe a sort of Saraki kind of leadership to the National Assembly. And
that is precisely why I began by saying that Saliu Lukeman's, his observations and the expression of his dissent as to certain things within the party is not totally unwelcome. It is part of a conversation that must go on in a progressive platform. With respect to that particular issue, he enjoys a lot of sympathy. Because in the time of Adams Ali Oshomole as national chairman, we saw that there was some decisiveness around producing the Senate president and avoiding what had happened in 2015 that left us with a Saraki Senate presidency, which the party felt was not the outcome they wanted. And the party is entitled to feel that way because political parties are set up to jostle and struggle for power. That is the object that they are set up for. So in this case, yes, there's a lot of movement already happening. And the fear is that once people start spending money, start making firm commitments, start supporting certain ideologies as the basis for taking a position behind a certain person emerging as Senate President, Deputy Senate President, it becomes more difficult to remove them from those positions and plant them somewhere else under the banner of the party. So, Saliu Lukeman shares the sentiment of very many people within the party. And we believe that the NWC will step up to the plate as it relates to that.
But considering that Senator Abdullah Adamu himself was part of the parliamentary support group, which that group which he was the chairman with Senator Ovie Omagege as deputy, who now stood up on behalf of the party to fight Bukola Saraki in the 8th Senate. Now, as we try to round off this conversation, talk to me about when Senator Abdullah Adamu can likely give an account of this 30 billion that Lukeman is saying
there are
could have
if you
been
look at the party
embezzled or
constitution,
misused or misappropriated or whatever.
There are a lot of red herrings that you would see in the letter, just on the face of it. First of all, you talk about the national secretary receiving money for Osun State. No, the man was not even on the committee for Osun State gubernatorial election. Why would you receive money on behalf of Osun State? There's no basis for that. Well, that never happened.
Because he's a leader. And
no. There was a sitting governor. There was a sitting governor in Osun. There's a minister from Osun. So you cannot say that simply because he's national secretary, the party will funnel money to him. In any case, the party is entitled to fund its projects and activities across the country. The Electoral Act allows the party to do that. But in terms of accounting for the funds that the party had made during sales of form or through any other means, lawful, right? There are avenues, right, by which that accounting process occurs. It does not occur on the pages of newspaper. If Adamu Abdullahi has done anything wrong, the NEC audit process will throw it up.
I mean, if the NEC is not convoked.
No. The NEC, all Adamu Abdullahi has to do. In fact, there are provisions. If he doesn't call the NEC, there are provisions that you can activate to call NEC.
And you think
without reference
party leaders will be able to do that?
Oh, yes. If you remember the NEC that removed and dissolved the NWC, was it called by Adams Ali Oshomole? No. It was then the chairman.
I just want you to address quickly this issue of the fears that it may actually be the Bola Tinubu's camp that is trying to prop up some of these issues so as to remove Senator Abdullah Adamu, because, I mean, you and I know that he had kicked against Tinubu's candidacy. And he even said he was going to sanction Tinubu for that comment he made in Abeokuta. Do you think, these are some of the political analysts?
So in politics, once you see the hand of Esau, you are looking for once you hear the voice of Esau, you are looking for the hand of Jacob, right? Now, it is not in every instant that a view expressed is engineered from somewhere. And I can assure you that if you look at the political history of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, right from ACN and AD and all that, it is not one where you have to chop and change the leadership of the party.
Okay, you think Abdullah Adamu enjoys some sort of good friendship with,
it's not about whether he enjoys friendship, it's about what is constitutional, what is legal. It is not legal for you to terminate abruptly the tenure of an NWC set up to run for a period of 4 years.
So you think Tinubu will be comfortable working with Abdullah Adamu as president?
Tinubu has not. The president-elect himself, by his style, by his antecedent, will not interfere, in my view. And in fact, I will be surprised if he does. He will not interfere with that. And those who are hoping for that interference, if that is the reason why all these are, they better just abandon that line of action, because it's not happening.
All right, let me read this out to you before I let you go. Saliu is actually saying, Saliu Lukeman is saying that by this open letter, I'm quoting him now, I am serving you notice of 1 week from today, being Wednesday, April 19, 2023, to take all the appropriate steps required to convene a NEC meeting before May 29, 2023, wherein all the issues bordering on the government, on the management of smooth transition between the outgoing government of President Buhari and the incoming government of President Asiwaju Tinubu can be considered. If by the end of this 1 week notice, no action is taken to convene a NEC meeting as a first step to restore constitutional order in APC, I will not hesitate to take further actions, including approaching our courts to enforce compliance with the provisions of our party's constitution under your leadership. End of quote. What do you make of this threat?
I think it is what it is, a threat. Now, does it have by the threat itself, does it have the teeth to cause anybody to be worried? I don't think so, because he has not also referred to the provision of the constitution that has been breached. If you have said, okay, you are in breach of article this of the constitution, we will hear you.
Well, at the beginning, he actually made reference to some of those provisions, actually.
That Adamu is allegedly in breach of. So he only referred to those provisions and said, okay, this says do this, do that.
Yeah, presenting financial reports. Yes, actually not saying that it can breach.
Yes. So, because before you get to the point where there is a breach, it has to be expressed. XYZ step ought to be taken. You didn't take those steps. But can you say that, given the circumstance of what the NWC has had to deal with? What if we wake up on Tuesday morning after the holidays, and the NWC issues notice for NEC meeting? So my point is this, sir. That is where we have a problem with party members and even leaders in the party who believe that it must be their way or the highway.
All right.
You cannot in one breath say you want to save the party, and then in another breath you are threatening to go to court. In any case, if you were to go to court, what the court will still look at is the constitution of the party, which you claim has been violated. Your action itself in trying to cure that violation, does it not offend civility? Does it enhance intra-party democracy? Does it support the proposition that you stand actually for the party? In my view, I think that Saliu Lukeman is entitled to express his opinion as a progressive, but his opinion is not a sum total.
All right, sir. That's a good place to actually end this conversation. We must thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Rotimi Gani Arobo is a lawyer and an APC strategist and a member of the presidential legal team of the president-elect. We want to thank you for helping us understand some of these issues in Nigeria's government.
I hope
party.
you understood.
I mean, it's left for our viewers to actually pick up all the issues.
Right,
but we must thank you immensely for helping us understand the issues, and we hope to have